everybody knows and loves. Tonight we are discussing Friday the 13th, parts 1 through 4. Hello, potatoes. How are you doing? Carolina.
Hey, everybody.
And we are sponsored today by Genshin Impact, which we will be doing a 2-hour stream after the podcast, if anybody wants to stick around for that.
Love it. I actually just finally played Genshin not long ago. I've been wanting to play it for over a year.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful game. For any RPG lover, play the game. Play it. Click on Renwolf's link. Play the game.
Stitches, thank you for the 3-month resub.
Whoop, whoop.
Good. I have to see you have a legend himself with you. Yes, we do. Next month we will not be having a podcast, but in October we have a special podcast for covering Tom Savini, horror special effects legend. Obey will be returning as a guest host for that as well. So stay tuned for date and time for that in October. We're going to start off with a trailer of the original Friday the 13th.
Nice.
I've had this dream where I'm in a thunderstorm and it's raining really hard. It sounds like pebbles when it hits the ground. I try to block out the sound with my hands.
I don't. I see it
work.
like going.
It just
Like
keeps
there
getting
is
louder
sound,
and
but it's
louder.
just not playing.
And the rain turns to blood.
It's okay. It's not a Twitch
I've had
stream.
this dream where I'm in a
Something
thunderstorm
happens.
and it's raining really hard.
Oh, they can hear
It
something.
sounds like pebbles when
Good.
it hits the
Okay,
ground.
good. Wonderful.
I try
That's
to
all that
block out
matters.
the sound with my hands, only it doesn't work. It just keeps getting louder and louder. And the rain turns to blood.
It's
All
just
these
a dream.
trailers.
Are you crazy?
We ain't gonna stand for no weirdness out here.
Hello?
Hey, there's PC. What's up?
Did you know that a young boy drowned here? His name was Jason, and today is his birthday.
This place is cursed. You're doomed if you stay here.
It's not funny anymore! Not funny at all! They're all dead! And he's still there.
Yes, if you are subscribed, we do have some Friday the 13th emotes producing.
Gosh, your overlay looks so amazing. I love it. And it looks wonderful with that trailer, too.
Oh,
Awesome.
I think I need to move the emote wall. All right, tonight. Oh yeah, definitely. All right. Tonight we are covering, or today we are covering. As well as talking about the movies. The last podcast we had where we went through all of the kill scenes. Well, we're not doing that today because of covering movies. So Obaid has picked out his favorite kill scenes of each movie, and we will be discussing those. So we'll be having 4. Plus, we have a bonus scene screenshot that not many people have seen.
Cool.
So, if you wanna, this is your realm.
Well, I mean, we wouldn't be here without honorable mention, honestly. Well, we would be, but not necessarily talking about these films if it hadn't been for the success of John Carpenter's Halloween in 1978. The 70s in horror were a lot of like brutal films, really brutal horror, like Chainsaw Massacre kind of stuff. So Halloween was, in a sense, the first slasher. And so that sent out a whole new genre of film that came out. And one of those that came quickly later in 1980, just a year and a half after Halloween, was Friday the 13th. And so we wouldn't be here without. So kudos to John Carpenter, the legend, for creating the slasher genre in a sense that lasted well through the 90s. It's fantastic. But yeah, this film was quite something. I remember watching it as a kid for the first time, and it made you think too, because when you ask people who's the killer of Friday the 13th, who's the killer, everybody's like, oh, it's Jason, duh. But this film actually was very unique in that it actually made you guess for a while who the killer was. There were some moments that I caught when I rewatched it again. I'm like, oh, sneaky. Sean Cunningham directed, Victor Miller wrote the story, but there was, I think the character's name was Bill. He was the last one to stay with Alice. There's a scene where they were all playing cards. There's a wild storm going off and whatnot, and the killer has already claimed some victims at this point. But Bill goes off to check the generator, and there's a certain scene even before that where he kills a snake and like he eyes it and just gives it this look, this dead inside look. And you start thinking, well, shoot, is that the killer? It makes you think for a while. And Bill had a machete, mind you. So it really had you, at least for me as a kid, like, oh my gosh, at the end when it's revealed who the killer is, it's like, boom, okay. This just went in a whole creepy, cool way. What do you recall of it?
Yeah, I like the fact that you didn't know who the killer was until the end of the movie. I really like that aspect. A lot of movies, even horror movies, you don't know. You know right off the bat the first one. And to be honest, that is a major, like, that's on every horror movie, like, quiz, is who's the killer in Friday the 13th, the original.
Yeah.
Every
And
single one
so
of
many
them.
people get it wrong.
And it's funny that to this day people get it wrong.
Yeah. Hey, and
It's
remember that was made
hilarious.
famous in Scream, 1996. Wes Craven film Scream. And the killer, the first question he asked her on the phone was, who was the killer of Friday the 13th? And she goes with Jason. And everybody was like, oh, when the
Right.
killer corrects her. Nope. Pamela Voorhees, who was a cook at the camp back in the 50s at that time. And her son, Jason, was a camper there. And while the counselors were out frolicking or messing around and goofing around doing their thing, as teenagers do, Jason drowned. And so that set off something with Pamela, clearly. Completely off the rails, where for decades
No.
she sought revenge against these people. So, oh yeah, spoiler alert. I'm so sorry.
Can we get a shout out for Chico, please?
But yeah,
Yeah.
Betsy Palmer was so good
Oh yeah.
as Pamela Voorhees, and bless her heart, I know she passed fairly recently, but such a good actress. And I know her and Adrienne, who played Alice. Thank you for having those notes there. They actually, I remember watching like a bonus footage thing of Friday the 13th. They legit, in that final scene where they're just going at each other, they legitimately kicked each other's ass. When Betsy Palmer bashes Alice's face into the sand out there by the lake shore, she literally bashed her face into the ground. They were kicking each other's ass. Like, it felt real. I don't know if that's what Sean was going for, or if it was just Betsy and Adrienne being amazing actresses, but wow, it was incredible.
Right. All right. We're just gonna go over some statistics right away for this movie. It released May 9th of 1980. It was 95 minutes long. Directed by Sean Cunningham and written by Victor Miller. Of course, this is the movie that, I mean, Tom Savini had a couple movies under his belt by then, but this is the one that put him on the map, to be honest. And the budget was only $550,000 for this movie, which not bad. And opening weekend, it just domestically, it did 5.8 million opening weekend. So, I mean, they got their money's worth on this movie, and it had a kill count of 10 people.
And fun fact, the original going title of this film was A Long Night at Camp Crystal Lake.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry, Camp Blood. Apologies. A Long Night at Camp Blood was what initially the film was going to be called. And then it became Friday the 13th. So Jason was born on a Friday the 13th. Pamela will later tell Alice, and today's his birthday. Will today be in Friday the 13th? And then you get his name was Jason, the iconic line of that movie. But yeah, it was good. But to Tom Savini, who many of us horror people just love from our generation, the first kill effect he ever did was on an actor who this was their starting role in Hollywood. It's a little actor, I don't know if y'all know, Kevin Bacon. And this was his first starting role in any movie. He was cast as Jack in Friday the 13th. So when Jack meets an unfortunate demise after getting laid, that was Tom Savini's genius. It was the first kill. If you want to describe it for us, Ren.
Yeah, we have a screenshot of it.
Yeah.
Basically, Jason's underneath his bed. He just had sex. The girl went I can't remember where the girl went. And
She went to go use the bathroom.
yeah, most of the time it was go to the bathroom, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And the guys always went to get a beer
Yep.
in these movies.
Yep.
Yeah. And he stuck an arrow from underneath all the way through his throat. Now, Tom Savini, they made a
It was Pamela under the
body
bed.
cast of Kevin Bacon's body, and they had basically his head was there, but they used a fake body, so that you only technically see Kevin Bacon from here down, from here up.
Yeah.
Everything else
There were-
was fake.
Yeah. The rest of Kevin was underneath the bed and the body was
Yeah.
fake. And then, of course, Pamela Voorhees is behind him, shoving that arrow through his neck and back. But, that was it. And that's the first time Ren Wolf mentioned this during the Nightmare on Elm Street podcast this was the first time that blood actually looked like blood. It was syrupy. It was darker. It didn't look like just paint or something crappy. Tom Savini, that was the first effect he did in a horror film, and he became a legend.
All right. Potato wants to know if you're using a green screen.
Oh yeah, no, it's a Discord effect just to hide background, and it's just me.
We have old betas over on my second monitor on Discord. So his head is the size of my 21-inch monitor. It's
like
I don't
real
know
life.
whether to react to you on my main screen in OBS or to react over here.
You do you.
Chico, Camp Blood, that's not scary at all.
Yeah, Camp Blood, to think, right, that this could have all been called A Long Night at Camp Blood. So glad that they ended up renaming it Friday the 13th.
No, Chico! True confession, never seen this movie.
Oh,
It breaks my
God.
heart.
Mm,
You know,
I need a minute. I need a minute.
It is free on a lot of services like Pluto TV, and if you have Amazon Prime, I believe it's on Amazon Prime free too.
It is. Yep. The first four, for sure.
Stitches says,
Love you, Chico.
what is so sad, these effects are the almost becoming non-existent in making monsters in the it's becoming extinct.
Yeah, the CGI.
But if you look at
Carolina, for sure.
non-mainstream movies, not A movies, if you look at B and C movies, which nowadays have a better script because they're original, they're not just rehashing old movies. You see these effects. You don't see CGI.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th
Yeah.
is far more iconic.
Of a name, yeah.
When he shot him with the arrow, did Jason Voorhees killing sound played? Okay. this is in part one, and in part one, Jason Voorhees was not the killer. His mother was the killer. Spoiler
But they did
alert.
have that thrill sound or whatever it was
they did have
in the
the
kill.
thrill sound did happen. There is a sound effect that you can get through your channel points, I believe. The music did play. It did start off in this movie.
Hey, and the fun fact is the iconic, that was actually Victor Miller. They were trying to think of something to do during scenes of the stalking when the victim was walking or running or chasing, and that just became it. How it popped out of his head, it did. I think it's in one of those moments, and we've all probably been there when we're thinking, and all of a sudden we start like humming or doing something to get our brain going. I think that's where it was, and then from there it was just okay. This is it.
I was wrong. The sound effects are in sound alerts. We do have quite a few of them in there.
Oh, gotcha.
I added the.
But yeah, that was my.
I always have one in there for Friday the 13th. I added one or two more.
Nice. Yeah, but this scene was my favorite kill scene from the first.
Well, we'll get potatoes. We'll get into that, but
Oh yeah, we'll definitely get into that.
But why is it? Why am I not hearing that sound effect?
As long as they are, it just may be something with us as we're using Discord.
Yeah. Yeah, because he can see my screen as well as me seeing him, so. Let me make sure it's on. They didn't hear it either.
Rats.
Alright, let me, okay, so let me check. If you want to do some talking, I'll look into. I might have to just relog in this sound.
Yeah, no problem. So the film begins with a counselor in a small town, Crystal Lake. She is walking from who knows where, right? She's just walking down the street of Main Street, USA, and she walks into a diner, an old school diner from back then. And if you watch that to this day, you really, for those of us who actually ate at those kind of diners back in the day, you miss that environment.
Those were the best diners back in the day.
Best. She walks in and she's like, "Hey, I'm going to Camp Crystal Lake. Where is it? Can you tell me where it is?" The music stops. Everybody looks, and it's just a tense scene for a moment because this town, for decades, mind you, already. This is 1980, and since the 1950s, these things have happened. There have been incidents at Camp Crystal Lake, which the residents have now renamed Camp Blood. And the reason for that is there was original murders in the 50s. So when Jason died, obviously, she snapped, just became vengeful, just out for blood. And years later killed some counselors. And that's actually the first moments of the film showing that. Of course, you don't know it's Pamela at the time, but so there have been things. Water's been poisoned, electrical failures, fires, things like that, always preventing the camp from opening. Until one day, this guy, Chrissy, opens up the camp again with a group of counselors and is about to get things going. Everything's working. Everything's fine. Well, anyway, this first counselor you see at the beginning of the film, she eventually picks up a ride from a trucker and is hitchhiking her way to Camp Crystal Lake. And along the way, before they get into the truck, they run into another iconic character of the first couple of films anyway, Ralph. So Ralph was this crazy old man from the town. He would always warn everybody, doom and gloom. He had a drinking problem. Anyway, he told her, "You're all doomed. You're all doomed." And the truck driver who's giving the counselor a ride, they kind of just laugh it off or whatever. But even the truck driver tries to warn her, like, that place has a bad reputation. You probably shouldn't do this. But bless her heart, that counselor, she was doing it for the kids. Like, she thoroughly loved working with children. And you hear that in the dialogue. So as she continues hitchhiking her way to camp, she eventually comes across a Jeep. Jeep stops and picks her up. And she's talking about that. You know, if you've ever gone after a dream like I do, this and that, this has always been my passion. It ends up she's in the wrong Jeep because she's in there with the killer. Things get tense. The Jeep speeds past where Camp Crystal Lake is supposed to be. She's freaking out. She jumps out of the Jeep. There's a chase scene, and needless to say, it ends up in the end of that counselor. She is the first kill of the Friday the 13th series. From that part, anyway. There was a couple of kills early on, but the ones that counted, she was the first counselor. And yeah, it was sad, but it was for a love of wanting to be with kids and teach them and do things and learn the outdoors. So that was some good stuff to that. And the characters in that movie still they really pass the test of time 42 years later now. If you watch the film, and again, it's on Prime, Friday 13th, you watch it, you'll have fun watching it. It's still rather cool to see. And it's a good throwback. The old fashioned cops and the diner that I talked about earlier, and just all sorts of stuff. It's a great throwback. But Friday the 13th, Sean Cunningham did such a wonderful job with Victor Miller's writing and telling the story, because back in the day, Halloween again was the pioneer, and it was successful, and it had a story, but it left a lot out. It wasn't very deep. If you really go back to Halloween, it wasn't very deep. It's just interesting, right? They closed those gaps years and years later, but Friday the 13th had a good, solid story. Mother lost her child, loses her mind, goes back for vengeance. A survivor happens to take up for themselves and ends the killer's reign, but not after 10 people are already dead. And it had twists and turns, because for a while you didn't know who the killer was. You didn't know if it was Crazy Ralph. You didn't know if it was Bill that I talked about earlier in the podcast, or who the hell it was. Maybe it was this weird cop that showed up earlier in a scene from that film. You just didn't know who it was. And then to find out it's Pamela and she tells the whole story, it was just mind-blowing. The creepy thing, too, is when Pamela and Alice have that scene in the cabin, shortly thereafter, as she's chasing her, as Pamela's chasing Alice, she starts like talking as Jason. So this was kind of a throwback to Psycho from the 1960s, where Pamela's speaking as Jason, like, get her, mommy, kill her, kill her. It is wild. It was a hell of a thing. I love watching that movie again. Cool.
We are
Sorry for yapping.
No, don't worry about it. Get into the next movie in a second. It's gonna take me a minute because
Yeah, no worries. I'm actually do your poll.
Jason.
I'm gonna take a quick little potty break here. Let's see.
Okay. Jason had a deformity. So we're going to take a poll to see who guesses the deformity right.
Yeah, cool. All right, I'll be right back. And
Carolina, all I got to say is you should be happy you're not doing this poll because it's all medical terms. Copy and pasting. All right, we're going to go ahead and put a 2-minute timer on this. See if anybody can guess the deformity. And oh, hello, Darkside. He just went to take a potty break. How are you doing today? Welcome in.
I am returned.
Old Babes Darkside just came in and screamed your name.
Hey, Darkside. Pouring some water. Make it a mess.
Everybody vote and see if you know. Oh, wow. Okay. We got everybody that's voting so far is going to 1.
Oh. Oh my gosh. And I don't really know.
You don't
Okay,
know.
Yeah, I don't. No, and I was gonna let you talk more about Jason. And then I have a fun little
You know,
quiz for movie buffs in a little while about who was the first Jason.
Look, I knew you were going to blow me out of the water talking about this movie. You're so into Jason. I mean, I'm into Jason, but you blow me out of the water, so I have no problem. I will gladly talk about the technical issue, the technical stuff.
Do your thing. Yeah, please don't let me bloviate. I'm sorry. Yeah, we're half an hour in and we're still on the first. I told you I could go like 2 hours. Easy.
That's all right. I need at least 2 hours for my sponsored stream because I need
Sweet.
2 hours of regular stream, 2 hours of.
Oh, well, yeah, we got this. Yeah, we'll definitely hit 2 hours. We're going to honestly be on Friday the 13th, part 1 for a little bit more. Just a little bit.
Okay, so true. You never know. Okay, part 1, Friday the 13th isn't free to watch. I just looked up on Amazon. Try looking on Pluto TV. It is an app. You can get it on most stick streamers thingies, or you can get it straight on their website. It is a free service.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
I'm good, Dark Side. Good to see you.
Do not ask me to pronounce any of these, but
Hydrocephalus.
yeah. Well, that is the winning deformity.
Really?
Sure is.
I'm the loser that selected that other one. Again, I didn't know what these things were. I saw derma and I was like, yeah, he clearly had a derma issue. So tell us about it.
Hold on.
Potatoes, I'll send you a link, okay?
Yeah, and see, okay, most of them that I picked as the other ones are like head deformities. This one, it is a real condition that forms abnormally large accumulate fluids in the skull. These fluids put pressure on the skull, which was a result of Jason's large disfigured head.
Wow. Wow, that's crazy. That's fantastic.
And I think a little known fact that some people do not realize when they think of the Friday the 13th, at least the first 4 movies. Part 1 was 5 years. Okay. Part 2 was technically like a couple days later, the very beginning scene where Alice is killed from the first movie. And then after that, the rest of the movie, part 2, part 3, and part 4 are all the day after each other.
Yes.
In timeline.
Yep.
Every single one of them is just a day apart. That's
yeah, because what between part 1 and 2, it's 5 years. And then boom, 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 day. It's wild.
Hello, Ray. Welcome in. That's a good point. Very possible. Wait, what did I miss here?
Stitches was given a good point.
The one did the hydro in the name because Jason drew. Okay. All right, you said you wanted to talk more about 1?
Oh, just a little bit more about 1. Let's see. What was it? Pamela, so Pamela, going into your poll, and then I'll wrap it up. She describes Jason as special, that he always needed attention. He always needed to be watched. And at that point, when he went to go swim in Crystal Lake, nobody was watching over him. She was cooking. She had assumed the counselors would do their job. They did not. And that's what set her off. And Stitches was commenting earlier that she thought, well, wonder if Pamela killed Jason's father. There's virtually no mention of Jason's father throughout the films, for the most part, the films that really mattered.
Even in the lore that I was looking into, there is no mention of Jason's father whatsoever.
None.
It was. I don't think they ever wrote it into the lore or anything.
Yeah. Imagine if Rob Zombie had gotten his hands on Friday the 13th instead of Halloween. I'd imagine we would have had some story there about the father. But yeah, going into Friday the 13th part 2, I'm sorry. Part 2 happens 5 years after the first film. I think something like that.
It was released a year later, 1981. I am so dating myself. The director was Steve Miner, and the special effects was Carl Fullerton. The budget was 1.25 mil, and the box office opening weekend domestically was 6.4 million.
Nice.
It grossed 21.7 domestically while it was in theaters originally. Jason was played by two different people. One masked, one unmasked. The masked one was Steve. Oh God, can you read that? This one.
Daskowitz. Yeah, Daskowitz. That's what we're gonna say.
And the unmasked was Warrington Gillette.
Oh, but that's what I was gonna say. Darn it! The very first Jason. Just a stupid fact that I know from watching the biographies on these films. In Friday the 13th Part 1, at the end, after Alice kills Pamela and she's at the sailing away in a canoe on Crystal Lake, Jason jumps out at her and attacks her. Was it really Jason or was she dreaming? Nobody really knows. Anyway, that child Jason, a teenager at the time, was played by Sean Cunningham's son. His 12-year-old son was the first Jason. So that's just a little stupid fun fact.
Being a 12-year-old kid being in a makeup chair for hours on end, getting that makeup on.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, that was quite a scene. But yeah, that was the first Jason.
Yeah, yes, potatoes. Part 2 came out a year after, but in timeline, it was 5 years later.
Yeah, something like that. Back then, they used to produce movies fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Really fast. Okay, you want to get into your... I believe this one is... The death is Tom... wait.
Oh, yeah, that part.
Mark,
yeah.
Okay. Here we go.
That.
Okay. It was... The person was played by Tom McBride, and he played Mark Jarvis. He was the 5th victim of the movie, but the second victim killed with Jason's signature machete.
Yeah, and I forgot the first victim killed with the machete. But you know what is funny too? His character name was Mark Jarvis. As we discussed going into Part 4, especially, Jarvis will have a very special name in the Friday the 13th series in the core lore of those films. But yeah, this was crazy. So that character, Mark, as you can see, wheelchair bound.
I can't get the sound alerts to work, so if you want to not bother with the sound effects, the sound alerts, we do have a couple in, and I'm hoping that they work. Sound alerts is not working, and that's where all the sound effects are coming from.
Oh,
so.
Dang.
Sorry, people. No sound effects today.
Dang. Stupid OBS sometimes. It's a weird thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my favorite kill. Not necessarily because, poor guy in the wheelchair gets killed, but no, look at the effects of that kill. So that poor guy, what happened was before this, a bunch of them had gone off to a bar and he stayed behind with a handful of others. Well, I guess, 10 other people. And he was going to hook up with a gal who really took interest in him. This guy was a really cool character, like really interesting, cool story. And she left to go take a bath or to use the restroom. And he hears something out of the cabin. He's alone. He hears something. And he goes outside. There's a huge thunderstorm, really spooky. The tension is there. You legit watching that scene feel somebody behind you. They did so good shooting that scene. And sure enough, Jason gets him from the front. All you see is an arm and that machete and just severed his face. And he proceeds from there. He falls downstairs and it just catches him falling down the stairs. And then the picture freezes and they go into the next scene. But it was so well done. It gives me chills talking about that kill. That was crazy. Friday 13th Part 2 also started in the town in Crystal Lake with a couple of kids pulling in the big old truck, calling somebody from a payphone to say, hey, we're here, da-da-da, let's meet up. And you see Ralph again, old Doomsday Ralph, talking about how they're all doomed and this and that. And the kids end up, all meeting together at the camp. So in this movie, Friday 13th Part 2, it wasn't gonna be like officially a camp. This was actually in a location away from Camp Blood. This was on the other side of the lake. And what this was a training center for counselors. So you literally had about 30 counselors there. They were never going to be kids. And it was a training center for the counselors. And a couple of them ventured off to be sneaky into Camp Blood, Camp Crystal Lake across the way. And they get caught and they get in trouble by a sheriff officer. And leaving after getting mad at them and having a discussion with the owner, driving away from the training center, the sheriff sees somebody run across the road and chases this person. And all you see is for a flash this really large person running across the road into the forest. You don't get to see much, but anyway, that was Jason. And Jason ends up killing the man. The man finds Jason's special place. Renwolf, if you want to talk about that, it's our first scene into how Jason has been living this whole time, all these years. He never drowned.
Yeah, he was living deep in the woods, in a makeshift, not a house, but like a shack.
Yeah.
They did makeshift shack, and he had an altar for his mother, with her head and her sweater.
Yeah. So he saw his mother being killed.
And see, and that's the thing, like, in the remake, they touch base on the shack more. And
yes.
when that movie first came out, everybody was like, well, that was just added. And if you look back at the movies, the original movies, that was a big part of the backstory of how Jason was living all these years.
Yeah. And what was it before that? Jason finds Alice. So let's rewind a little bit, right? Alice, the heroine from the first movie, kills Pamela Voorhees.
Yeah, at the very beginning of the movie.
Go for it.
He finds her, and she hears things in her house, and she had an argument with her mom on the phone and stuff.
Yeah.
And she goes to open up her refrigerator after hearing noises, and there was Pamela Voorhees' head in her refrigerator.
Yep.
And the next thing you know, all you see is her head getting chopped off.
Yeah, she Jason got her with a screwdriver or something right through the temple, or the throat or something, gets her bad. And then her body disappears. Later on in the film, they tell you the body was never found of Alice.
Yeah. And then the next part of the film was 5 years after that movie.
There you go. Okay. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, Jason gets revenge. And then it turns out he's trying to keep people away. Like, that was the whole original concept, is he was tired of people. Like, he wanted to just be left alone. And whatever altar and whatever he was doing for Mama, nobody truly really knows. But living off the land, killing animals, he made a shack. All these years he had been alive. How him and Pamela never really reconnected, never was fully explained. But long story short, he saw Pamela die. Then that starts his vengeful wrath. He wanted to keep everybody out. And there's this scene in Friday the 13th Part 2 where they're driving to the counseling center.
I'm sorry, but Carolina made a joke. Sounds like she just wanted to get ahead in life.
Pamela was never going to be the head of a major corporation.
Later on, was her body ever found? No. In Part 2, 5 years later, they touched base on her body was never found. That she was missing.
So Jason did God knows what.
They didn't say she was dead. So
there was just lots of blood. You're right. There was lots of blood.
I believe that in the shot where they did the his little house, cabin, shack,
Mhm.
whatever, I believe that there was a
You see
headless-
bodies in there.
There's bodies in there, so her body could have been in that shack the whole time. It probably
Mhm.
was, because he
Yeah.
liked to keep what he killed.
Yeah, he did. So he set out traps. He didn't want them. He wanted them gone. Anyway, there was this huge tree trunk in the middle of the road in the beginning of the film as they're driving to the counseling center. They're like, oh my God, who could have put this here? And it took like 3 of the guys to move it out of the way. But it was one Jason who put that there to block the road, trying to tell people, stay the hell away. They didn't. And he's brutal. Jason's kills, and we'll talk, obviously about these kills, and we just saw the one earlier, but they get brutal from part 2 to 3 and 4. You just feel the anger and the hatred in his kills. They are deeply personal to him. Like, he's not just doing it because it's fun. It's really, really crazy.
Yeah. I don't really have. I mean, the only time I'm going to disrupt you is for little known facts I know of. I didn't get too deep into part 2. There's really not much.
Part 2 was your introduction to Jason,
Yeah.
showing you how he lived. There is a dog that he murders, or doesn't. There's some weird scenes there at the end where, are they dreaming? Are they not? The heroine of that film survives. She goes crazy from her experience.
Yeah.
Obviously, she sees Pamela's head, and Jason has a burlap sack at the time. And she went through hell, poor girl,
Yeah,
and
Jason-
loses her mind.
Yeah, Jason doesn't get his machete until like halfway through the movie. And he's not in a hockey mask in this movie. He's actually in a burlap sack covering his face with eye holes. There is no hockey mask yet.
No, we'll talk about that guy. That guy was fun for part 3.
Yeah, that comes into part 3.
But yeah, part 2, it ends with a chase, of course. The heroine, she hides in the shack, not knowing. She just sees a candle or a light. Help me, help me. She goes in the
thinks
shack.
she thinks it's a safe place to go.
And it's his house. So she ends up finding the room where Jason, like Renwolf says, has the altar to the mom. And she starts to lose it. But what she does to save herself, she barricades herself in. And Jason's going away at the door with the machete or the axe or whatever. And she puts on Pamela Voorhees' sweater, all bloodied and just dry and all that. And she does her
mighty
hair
crusty.
like Pamela.
Yeah, her
And-
mighty crusty.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have worn that damn thing.
Oh, no, it just freaks me out seeing it. She tricks Jason into thinking for a moment that that's Mama. You've done well, Jason. You can stop now. She tries to kill him with the machete. He catches her with like a pitchfork. It wounds her. Supposedly her boyfriend comes in and there's a fight with Jason, which I think honestly was her dreaming. Anyway, she manages to end Jason. She stabs him with the machete through the shoulder. You see him fall. That's basically the end of part 2.
Right. All right. Let me get my shit up for part 3.
Hey, not bad. We did that one in 10 minutes.
Yeah. Well, most of the story and stuff happens very quickly in that movie.
Part 2 was very much a filler. Just like, hey, this is the guy. This is how he lived.
Basically covering, Jason's here. Jason is living in a shack, and he's keeping and killing people. So yeah. Part 3 was a year later, again in 1982. Jason was played by Richard Broker.
Oh, I love Richard. Yeah.
Director again was Steve Miner. It had a budget of $4 million. Opening weekend was 9.4 mil. It grossed in theaters domestically. All these numbers are domestically, by the way. It covers U.S. and Canada. The gross, while it was in theaters, was $36.6 million. I mean, for 1982, That is a huge number.
Yeah.
Huge number. Now, some movies are made for almost that much.
Oh, yeah.
There was a kill count of 13, including Jason. This is the first movie that marks the appearance of his signature hockey mask, which we will have a poll on in just a second.
Sweet.
And a known fact, and I don't think a lot of people understand this, this is the only movie where Jason's name is not mentioned one time.
That's a fun fact. That is so true. You're
Go
right.
through the entire movie without Jason's name even being said. So while you start, I'll put up your favorite kill scene, which is
Okay.
Rick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This was brutal. So
and
actually,
can
just
Can we
backstory.
put the disclaimer up, Carolina, please, for this one?
Oh, yeah. This one was rough.
We
I was-
need a disclaimer for this.
I was thinking maybe you'll just grab a screenshot of the initial grabbing of the head, but yeah. So
Look, when I Googled, that's what came up.
fun fact about Friday the 13th Part 3 is it was 3D.
Yeah, you're blurred, dude.
I know it's blurred, but
You have to
Friday the
unblur the
13th.
background.
yeah, it was
No, it's
damn.
blurring because of the
I
background.
know. Yeah, let me change that. But it was in 3D. It was called A New Dimension in Terror, literally playing off 3D. It was one of the first 3D films that they ever did. So yeah, this was the actual movie poster. You see the knife and the 3D, and it's got a really unique sound. So one of my favorite sound alerts is actually the theme from Friday the 13th Part 3. And then, yeah, this is what Jason looked like in Part 3 with mask, of course, but we'll get into that in a little bit. And poor Shelley. But yeah, that's actually my favorite film of the four being my favorites, but 3 holds a very special place just because of the brutality and oof, all of it was very sinister with Jason.
And can I just make a mention that the dude loves a movie when he's got the physical copy of the movie and not just a stream version of it, the download
Right.
version.
Yeah. And I have the original set too back then, and there was the documentary. I watched all of it. So much fun facts on these movies. But yeah, it was A New Dimension in Terror. Friday 13 Part 3 takes place the day after Part 2. It opens with Jason and the
We're
heroine
sending
from
out
Part
the poll
2.
now. It is the original hockey mask. I couldn't fit original in there because they won't let me write a long ass question. The original hockey mask was molded from what hockey team?
God, hopefully I'm right. You got some crazy cool facts here that I don't know or I forgot. But yeah,
Dude,
Friday
I'm
13th
good-
Part
I'm good
3.
at finding those little itty bitty things that nobody knows.
I love it. That's fantastic. Like with the first
speak
Jason
on the
being
movie
Cunningham.
All in general, I will give you facts.
Cool.
Nobody knows.
But yeah, Part 3 is the next day. They show the opening scene is showing the end of Part 2, and then Jason like dragging himself away wounded from the shoulder wound. And then you go into the next scene, and we'll go from there in a minute. But yeah, this kill scene was crazy. Again, I talk about how the kills in Part 2, 3, and 4 just got more and more intense. Jason literally crushes a dude's head in this one. Literally pops his eye out from the force. Of course, it being 3D, they did a lot of cheesy 3D stuff for it on the effects, but this kill was brutal. You almost thought for a second this guy was going to make it, but the power goes out and he goes outside the cabin to check. Jason is meeting him there, grabs him, and then the heroine of the film, she's like standing like, hey, calling out to him. I actually forgot this character's name already, but she's calling out to him, who was her boyfriend.
Yeah.
And he can't say anything. Jason's grabbed him. He can't even yell. And you hear the skull crushing, and then boom, that's it. And he just collapses limply on the ground.
Okay.
And then that goes
Who
in the whole
voted
thing.
for the New York Rangers. Own up. It was the 1950 Detroit Red Wings hockey mask.
That's cool. Okay, I did guess that way.
I literally pulled the other teams from the 1950 league roster.
That's awesome. That's a really good trivia
And
question.
I don't know if you know this. There was an original
What's up, Eurofit?
multiple ending of the script.
I don't know. I didn't know.
No.
No, I didn't know that.
Can we get a shout out for Eurofit, please? Carolina, thank you.
I also have a sad fact about this movie. We'll get into that in a minute.
Let me bring it up. Okay, so the multiple ending, here is the only screenshot I could find of it.
Whoa.
Okay. This is the only one that was alternate ending that was actually shot. They had multiple endings.
Oh, that's wild.
In Chris's dream, she's in the canoe and she hears Rick calling for her from the house.
Okay.
And races to greet him at the door. Then Jason emerges from the door instead of Rick and cuts Chris's head clean off with the machete. Now, in the one that aired, this doesn't happen.
Yeah, but Chris doesn't make it that far, actually.
Right.
Even in the original. Wow. I didn't know that, Ren Wolf. That's cool. So they focused it around Chris initially.
Yeah.
Oh, and she was the Hispanic gal. It was like one of the first Hispanic gals you saw in a horror movie like that. And I didn't realize that. That shows quite a lot of significance to that character.
This talk show. Well, thank you very much, Eurofit. We will be having another podcast in October, a special about Tom Savini, legend, special effects.
Yeah.
Actually has a school. We will be covering him as a special and some of his movies. That one I got a feeling is going to be longer than 2 hours because me and Obaid are doing it together. And let me tell you something. We're both gaga over this dude and what he did with genre.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If any of you ever know of Fangoria magazine, you can Google it and do some research there. But Tom Savini is a legend.
And I will be posting a link on a documentary style YouTube video that talks all about him beforehand.
Cool. So fun fact, Fangoria magazine makes an appearance in Friday the 13th part 3. And this goes into a sad kill fact about the film. It was the first time in these slasher films that a pregnant woman was murdered. And of course, Jason doesn't know that, but you know that as the viewer. Yeah. And yeah, that was sad.
Yeah,
even as a kid, you're like,
clear that she was pregnant during the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Very early on.
Yeah, and she's
she's killed when she's reading Fangoria, but when she opens up Fangoria magazine, the first thing you see for a half a second is an homage to Tom Savini.
Yeah.
And it's an actual article that was written about Tom Savini. When she opens up the book, you see it before she turns the page.
Yeah. And he was doing, I think, the effects back on 3. I don't think he did 2, but he was doing 3 again. Maybe.
He didn't come back until 4.
Okay. But yeah, it was cool. That was such a cool thing. But 3, again, it's the day after part 2, and Jason no longer has a burlap sack.
Yeah, I could not narrow down, and this is really weird. I could not narrow down the lead for the special effects department on this movie.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
they
I
had
don't know.
They had like 5 people listed, 2 of them were assistants, but there was no lead listed anywhere.
Maybe it's because it was just their 3D thing, and it was so many working moving
that's
pieces.
The one thing, like, I love this movie with a passion, but when you watch it non-3D,
yeah,
the 3D effects look janky. Like in the first
snake,
part
remember?
in the first part of the movie when he goes to kill that couple.
Mm-hmm. I was going to talk about that.
Yeah, the guy goes out to the storage shed or something, and he goes to put his bunny away. and a snake pops out, you can literally see the fish wire on the snake.
Yep.
In this kill scene, you can actually see, and this is where I think they really mess up. They should have talked to Tom Savini, because his eye pops out and you can see the wire that's holding the eyeball coming out.
Yeah,
If
there it
Tom
is.
Savini was there and did that, he would have covered that wire in blood
Yep.
to hide
Yep.
the fact that it's there. Because you can actually see it a little bit right here. This
Yeah.
is not a line on his face. This is the actual wire that's coming out of the face.
Yeah. They did a decent job on the mannequin for that, and the blood is all gory and thick and dark. But yeah, they screwed up. He would have
Oh,
made it
thank you for
veiny. It
being
would have
here.
looked real.
Hero fit.
Oh, I
Thank
love
you.
it.
Love the support.
But yeah, that freaking couple in the beginning, they are
It's
your classic
hilarious.
couple from like just they don't. She hates the husband so much, and he's such a slob. It starts. She's doing laundry, and he's
This
just a
couple had, like,
bum.
a general store /
Yeah.
gas station, I think.
yep.
And he was the type of guy that, like, his bunny was in there eating produce,
Mm-hmm.
and he would just take things off the shelf, open them up, eat them, and then put them back.
Yeah, you saw Sunny D, some peanuts, some donuts.
Yeah,
It
it was very
just,
product placement.
it made you feel-
sponsorship.
but it made you feel like nauseated, like, oh god, such a bum. And he ends up having to take a shit because he gets a scare from that snake that Renwolf's talking about. Well, in doing so, as he's running past the wife, she's like, "See, I told you not to eat that shit." On the TV is a news report about the murders at Camp Crystal Lake, which is not far from their place. And she's all concerned, and she's knitting. She has that back in the day, the huge knitting needle. And
I hate to tell you
So-
this, but those knitting needles are the same size nowadays.
or it ain't okay. I don't know anything about it, but yeah,
They're
it-
this long.
fucking big.
They're over a foot long. Yeah.
So the guy, after he's done taking a crap, I think he hears something. Jason slaughters him. The wife has left. She's like, Earl or whatever the hell his name is, calling out to him, like, "Where the hell are you now?" She sits back on her couch, all like huffy puffy, like, "Fuck this guy." And she's like, "Where the fuck is my knitting needle?" Well, you see it very soon thereafter, and Jason does her in. And then you transition into the kids. And these kids were well done casting and just really interesting characters, Renwolf.
Yeah, the character development was a lot better in this movie than the prior one. I mean, other than 2. I think 2 was just, okay, here's the story. We're not going to develop too much into the kids. Which was sad because some of them you wanted to know more. But this one definitely developed more character. They started developing more character in this one.
They
and-
did.
And in the fourth one, yeah.
And in this one, the kids, Chris, again, she was like one of the first Hispanic females in a horror film. And they go to her house. There's a van. You got your two usual like hippies there smoking weed in the van. You have the pregnant gal and her boyfriend. He's like the typical jock guy.
Yeah, the dude hippie reminded me a lot of Cheech and Chong, man.
Yes. And I don't know if that's what they were going for, because back
I'm
then,
pretty sure
Cheech and
that
Chong
that's-
up in smoke.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what they were going for because he looked
Yeah.
a lot like him. Not only
Sure,
playing
the
a
hell,
part,
dude.
Yeah.
And Shelly. So Shelly's another character, and Shelly's an average guy. Me, big old husky dude, a geek. He apparently
Here's something that you might
Go
not
for it.
know. Shelley was actually not an actor.
really.
The casting director found him on a street corner in Hollywood.
No way.
It was his first acting part ever. He liked his comedic style, and when he asked them how to play the character, they were like, "You're a comedian. Play it that way." Yeah,
Oh, that was
he
so
was
good.
off the street.
That's
Literally
cool.
off the street. All right,
I
sorry,
didn't know that.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's okay. Feel free anytime, because I can bloviate so much, especially about the first, third, and fourth film. But Yeah, Shelly was cool. Shelly reminded me of me,
Cheech
and
Chong in
just
Friday the
geeky.
13th. Well, no, I think they based the hippie male on Cheech and Chong.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely
pretty
on
sure
Chong.
that they definitely based him on that because he looks very similar. I mean, not just like the character development or how the way the character acted, but the look. Like
Mhm.
dark
The long
hair,
hair.
mustache, and the headband, and the glasses, everything.
All of
Like
it.
if
And then
you
his
didn't know what Chong looked like back then, you would have thought it was him.
yeah, seriously, the voice and everything, this guy spot on. Um but yeah, from that scene you get introduced to the kids, you meet Chris and everybody else, and then the eventual heroine who survived, they pick up later. But yeah, there they go, they're camp, and they're actually, I think in part 3 they're going to actually reopen the camp. I don't recall exactly, because again, this movie was so much into the characters that there wasn't too much about backstory. Really, they didn't worry too much about that. It was so much into the characters. And
Yeah,
they're
I think they're reopening the camp. Yeah.
something, yeah, and they're at this guy's house. The heroine, gosh, I forgot her name, the one who ends up surviving. Her boyfriend, that's his property, and there's a huge barn. They introduce you to everybody and give all the stories. And the one, she's had an experience with Jason that you learn about later, right, Renwolf? In the past, before this film.
Yeah.
Right? Who was it?
I don't remember her name. But yeah, she did. She definitely had one in the past. And her parents, I think she was a lot younger. I think it was like maybe in the first movie, in timeline wise, or something like that. She was camping out there or something.
Okay.
She was
Yeah,
camping
something
out
like
there and
that.
She, or she was a local or something. I'm not really sure. But
Yeah.
she was out there and she had to hide from him and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, she got in an argument with her parents and left
Yeah, she
home
left
and went
home.
into the woods. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Gosh, even on the cast, they don't show her.
I just watched all 4 of these movies in the last 2
Yeah.
days, and I can't remember every detail from one movie to another at some points.
Well, and it's funny because the one who I thought was Chris, I think Chris is our eventual heroine, but not the Hispanic girl. Chris is this other one. So the gal that we showed in that scene that you showed us, the one that never before seen alternate ending, that actress, her character ended up becoming Vera, not Chris. Her character became Vera Sanchez. So they must have recast Chris as this other actress eventually.
Yeah.
Chris is our heroine. Now I got it. Okay. But Vera was cool. Yeah, I thought Vera was going to be the heroine. Has nothing to do with me being Hispanic or anything, but I thought because of how they were portraying her as strong and standing up and this and that, I thought, well, shoot, Vera's obviously going to make it.
Yeah.
Vera didn't make it.
By the way, this disclaimer, best thing ever. We started running it because of since we're a strictly horror channel, some of the games lately have been needing disclaimers, so we started streaming it. We started doing it the other night as a warning, especially with Mortuary's Assistant. You kind of need it because you see open bodies.
Yeah, I can't play that game.
That
one-
game is hard for me to play, and
Yeah.
there's certain parts where you have to rewire. You have to wire the people's mouth shut,
Mhm.
and you hear the clicking of the bone, and it's just disturbing. Like you can't look at the mouth when it's happening.
Mm-mm. Yeah,
And there's
I
a-
watched enough.
There's a lot of jump scares in this one.
Yeah,
Like
it's
Dixper was
demonic.
not a thing last night.
I don't blame you. Yeah, that game is heavily centered on demonic, and the demonic and me, we don't get along. But yeah, Friday 13 Part 3. So Shelly, guy pulled off the street, does a wonderful job, and he's a prankster, and he likes to make masks. So when you first see him, it's this tense scene. You know, the kids are picking up Vera, at her mom's house, and you hear them yelling at each other in Spanish. And it reminded me of my mom and sister. It was hilarious. And Vera meets him, but there's this tense scene, and you think, like, what the hell? Because they show the camera angle like stalking the kids walk into her house, and the music's very tense. Well, it's Shelly, and he's got a damn mask on, and he grabs his buddy by the hoodie, and he's like, "Damn it, Shelly!" This and that. And later, when they're at Rick's house in the country, Shelly fakes his death. There's this scream. Everybody goes in the house. What's wrong? They open up a wardrobe, and there's Shelly, throat slit, dead, and he falls. Well, his buddy, the jock, is like, hold up, and starts tickling him, and Shelly starts laughing, and they are all pissed at Shelly. Mind you, this is building up to something, what I'm talking about. It's the whole boy who cried wolf thing. So later in the film, Shelly pulls out another one of his masks. It's a hockey mask. And Shelly, before this, mind you, you see Jason as a silhouette, as a shadow. You even see a scene where he's like this from the barn, but you don't see the
I
face.
don't mean to stop you, but is your cat playing with your curtain in the back?
He is, my little guy. Let me blur my background again.
Oh, okay. And Arya said, like the
He's
demon
playing
last
around.
night and Ghost Watchers, haha.
Huh? Oh, well, okay. Those demons, that's different.
Yeah, that's
That's more cartoony. Yeah, this
the demons in
They're too real.
Mortuary Assistant are
Yeah, they're
way
too real. I don't like it. I don't deal with demonic. Yeah, he's messing with the curtain back there. I see
Yeah,
it.
I just.
But
See,
later,
I'm like, I don't see the cat, but I see the curtain moving. I'm going, okay, he's got a cat. It's got to be the cat. Otherwise,
and
that goes.
occasionally, yeah. Or otherwise, we got to get the hell out of here. Yeah. Shelly is dressed up for water, so he likes Vera. Okay, the Hispanic gal. He's like, I really like you, and literally, she's like, stop. No.
Yeah,
And she
puts him
walks
down
out
quickly.
fast and nasty, right? Just boom. She ends up walking towards the lakeside. And she had his wallet because earlier they went to the store, met bikers, whole thing. And she's like, oh, fuck, I got his thing. And Shelly is in like a wetsuit and he has a hockey mask on and tries to spook her or whatever. And she's like, Shelly, why do you blah, blah, blah? Why do you always have to be like this? Mind you, he had already faked his death and stuff. And then he kind of goes sobby into the barn. Well, this whole time, Jason's been in the barn. He's already killed 3 bikers. I forgot who else. I think by then he's already killed the pregnant gal and the jock. He's slowly picking off the kids, taking his moments, and all the kills are brutal.
I think.
Many of them with pitchforks.
Did he get the hippies by then too, or no?
Which one?
Did
he get what?
Did he get the hippies already by this point? I'm not really sure.
Oh, not yet. That's later on. That's later on, which is with Shelly, right? So Shelly goes in the barn, like, fuck, man, like real mopey. And then he hears something and turns, and then the scene splits.
Oh, wait a minute.
And-
Yeah, he goes in the barn because he thinks one of the couples is messing around.
Yeah.
He's gonna
So he's
try
going to
to
go
get
mess
free
with
shot.
him.
And
Yeah.
this is the scene where Jason gets his mask, his hockey mask. He takes this off of Shelly's body because his bag has been ripped off his head. And he takes it as a mask. That's the scene where they don't show it, but all of a sudden he's walking around with a hockey mask, and it's the same hockey mask. Shelly's
Oh, and it's
got.
creepy. So
Yeah.
Vera's at the lakeside, and she's like, fuck, I have his wallet still. Damn it. Turns around, she sees who she thinks is Shelly coming out of the barn and walking, and his head's like tilted a certain way, but he's holding something in his freaking arm, his hand. He's walking and walking. As this person gets closer, Vera's like, wait, who are you? Like, this isn't Shelly. You're wearing his mask, but you're not Shelly. Boom. And this is where the 3D comes in. It was what is a bow and arrow? What kind of thing was
I
that?
think it was a harpoon. A harpoon
Okay,
gun.
yeah. Boom, right through her eye. And again, all
Yeah.
3D.
Yeah, the 3D back then was very new.
Yeah.
And you can see in certain scenes where, like, Earl, the guy, the old couple at the gas station, the oddball couple, when
Yeah.
he's picking up one of the sticks from the line that holds the clothing line up, you can see where it's supposed to be a 3D effect of him going towards the screen. And you have to nail those things perfectly on Mark back then. And you can see him very quickly look at his mark in the scene to see where he has to do it so they don't have to keep taking it over and over again.
Yeah. And it's so obvious those 3D. Even Jason when he's
They
killing
weren't bad
somebody with a
if you're
pitchfork.
watching it in 3D, but if you're not watching it in 3D, it's like, okay, that's a 3D effect. That's a 3D.
Yeah. No, I'm watching it regular and it's like, ugh. But anyway, yeah. So Shelly, you don't know what happens to him at the time. You just know somebody's walking out of that barn with his mask. You assume he's dead. He kills Vera. Now we go to the hippies. Popcorn is involved. They're making popcorn. Well, the lights, go figure, start going out. So Chong goes off to the generator shed to go check out what's going on, and his hippie girlfriend stays in the house making her popcorn. And there's Shelly. He's at the door. She's like, Shelly, God damn it, Shelly. His throat slit.
Yeah,
Looks
he didn't
super
quite
pale.
die when Jason tried to kill him. He didn't quite die. It was a slow bleed out, and he made it all the way to the kitchen door
From the barn. He walked all the way to the main house to the kitchen door. She's like, God damn it, quit fucking around. You know, something's going on here. Well, he slumps down and then he's officially dead. She doesn't know that. Chong, meanwhile, is in the generator room. He finally gets it going. He's like, hell yeah, dude. Well, Jason's behind him. Jason pushes him to the electronic panelies. And back in the day, those electrical rooms were incredibly dangerous. You didn't have the fancy shit nowadays that protects you. Anyway, he lands hands first on these things, on the breakers and shit, and he's electrocuted. Well, the lights are going fucking insane. His girlfriend back at the house making popcorn is like, Shelly, get up, like kicking him, get up, quit messing around. And he slumps, she screams. And then we get to the end, and you can talk about that, Renwolf.
I'm sorry, I was checking my...
Oh, you're good. Sorry. But yeah, so he ends up killing the hippie gal too, Jason does. Okay, and this is what I love, right? This is where the stigma was, and I watched them again and I laughed, especially parts 3 and 4. This is where there's danger. Let's fucking go upstairs. Fuck it, right? Let's go upstairs.
You know what?
Let's not go out the exit.
Slasher movie, even to this day, let's go up the stairs. Let's not run out the door. Let's go up the stairs.
Yeah, fuck it. Let's go up there. So she goes up.
You have working cars around. Get the fuck in a car. Even if you have to hotwire it, and get the fuck out of Dodge.
Yep. She goes upstairs. She finds the murdered couple, the jock and his girlfriend. He was cut in half. She was, of course, speared and just nasty stuff. She's screaming. Jason meets her downstairs. Go figure, right? He's got a fucking from the fireplace. What do they call those fucking things from the fireplace? The poker, yeah, I guess. You poke the coals with, and it's hot. He just impales her, and you see it right through her. And when it comes out the other end, you see the fried meat. Like, it is gory.
Yeah, that whole scene, that whole kill scene was 3D.
And that one was done well. Unlike the other 3D scenes of the death, this one was done really well. And it's like, oh, it gives me chills. I hate that. You hear the sizzle of her meat cooking. So Chris and her boyfriend were actually away at this time, Renwolf. They actually took the car, that little buggy. And that's where she's recounting her prior experience with Jason. Doesn't know it's him, but yeah. And then you get to the end, and yeah, go for it. Take it from there.
I don't remember the end.
Okay. So the end.
I was doing so much research on
Yeah.
the alternate ending that after I watched the movie again, I totally forgot the ending.
Oh gosh. Okay, no worries. But I love that alternate ending. I never knew about it. I thought I've seen all the documentaries and stuff. I never knew.
Did not know about it until I did.
And the fact that they showed him like that was cool. He looks almost like a demon or gremlin or something. That's cool.
Yeah, let me bring up the shot again.
Yeah, please do. Look at that.
I mean, that's yeah.
And Richard Brooker.
His face was definitely a little bit different because in the second movie, when you seen his face, he had hair on one side of his head. Right.
Yeah, and he was very, very deformed.
Ray said, slasher movie logic. Victim, run in a zigzag. If the killer walks in a straight line, meanwhile, the audience wonders if he catches up, how he catches up.
He teleports, obviously. Oh, that's later. Oh, that's a hot mess later. But anyway, yeah. So Chris and her boyfriend Rick return. We saw the Rick kill earlier. That was my favorite kill from this movie. And yeah, it's a long chase. And Chris is like, oh my God, like, you know, fuck, she's traumatized as hell. She had already been in her life as a teenage girl chased by a man in the woods, survived that encounter, and it's like history repeating itself. She doesn't know who the killer is. He's got a mask. At some point, he chases her in the barn. They're fighting. She's putting up a hell of a fight against Jason, bless her. She manages to kick off or somehow take off his mask. When he's picking it up and turning around to look at her, she's like, oh my God, it's you. Well, then you find out Jason was the guy who had chased her all these years back when she was a teen. And so she first tries to kill him. One of the bikers, it turns out, wasn't dead. That guy interferes for a hot second. Jason demolishes him. When she first tries to kill him, she wraps a noose around him and hangs him from the barn. So as she's leaving the barn, he's alive. He does the whole thing. And she's freaking out. Another chase ensues. Somehow they end up back at the barn. He's coming after her with a machete. She looks around. One thing she finds is an axe. She takes it, whack, spot on, right in the middle of the skull. He's still freaking alive. Kind of goes after her Frankenstein style for a moment. The music is going crazy. She's freaking out. He finally collapses. And then there's the end. That's your happy ending. But holy shit. Yeah, that ending was intense.
Carolina said killer gains above 75% speed increase when not on camera.
Yeah, he rolled a D20 all the time.
Yeah, and that takes us to chapter 4.
Go for it. Take us there.
Came out in 2 years later in 1984. It was supposed to be the final chapter. Jason was played by Ted White. Director was Joseph Zito, and the return of the special effects of Tom Savini.
Love it.
I'll get into that in a second. The budget was 2.6 mil. Opening weekend was 11.1 mil, and gross was 32.8 mil. This was domestically. Now,
Wow.
they talked Tom Savini into coming back, and under one condition, that they kill off Jason once and for all. Like, there's no more Jason, there's no more sequels. They have to kill him off once and for all. Well, they agreed to it, and obviously we know they lied because there were several movies after this that had.
But it
nothing
wasn't
to do with
supposed
Savini.
to.
There wasn't
That was
supposed
money
to,
driven.
And if I'm not correct, it was quite a few years after this one
It was.
came out. But, and
Yeah, they did
I
a new
don't-
beginning.
I don't think that Savini worked with that particular director again.
No,
after
never
that.
again. So it was money driven. Yeah, I was going to say that too. A fun fact about 4 is legit was going to be the final. That was the end of Jason's story. Friday the 13th, the films were going to continue. Paramount wanted the films to continue, but with a new story. Like
Okay.
Friday the 13th is cursed.
You need to see Stitches.
Sure. It's a lie when he goes down, someone ties shoestrings. Yeah, this was the end of Jason. Friday 13th, the final chapter, 1985. That was it. The Friday the 13th franchise would continue, supposedly under a new story. Friday the 13th being a cursed, day. Jason's story was ending here, and obviously that didn't happen. But yeah, that's why Savini returned.
This one does have it does have an alternate ending. I don't have any screenshots. You might have actually, if you have the deluxe edition of the 09 release of the DVD, you might have seen it. I don't know. It's in the extras. They did film it. They do have an alternate ending. which we'll talk
Cool.
on later, but it is on
Yeah.
the DVD. You can't see it streaming anywhere. I looked. You actually have to have the DVD for it.
Wow. And of the original Jasons, like Red Wolf will tell you, the original Jasons were all stunt guys, but Richard Brooker from Part 3 was by far my favorite and scariest Jason.
Yeah,
He
you know,
personifies
and
Jason.
the funny thing is, you know, Potter is synonymous with Jason, but he didn't come until late in the franchise. And when people think of
Oh, you mean Kane Hodder? Yeah.
Kane Hodder,
Yeah,
when-
yeah.
when people think of people who played Jason, they think him.
Yeah.
But he came much later. We're on
Part
movie 4.
7?
Yeah. He didn't come in until part 7.
Yeah. He was known
And he's
iconically because he was more animated.
Yeah. He was more of a stunt actor than a stunt. And by the way, I've seen his actual acting. He's not an actor.
It's pretty horrendous. Yeah. He
It's
needs
horrendous.
to just, yeah, he's got to stick to
I
the math.
also suggest camping the body for a bit. Okay.
Well, they did. That's how this movie starts. They're camping the body.
I think we need to take a quick break. Okay.
Yeah,
and
four.
let
Brutal.
me just touch on a couple things. Just a reminder.
Please do.
With spooky season upon us, we are having special events through October. The events are listed in the events section of my Discord if you want to join. We will be watching Hocus Pocus 2 on Discord on
Here you go,
October
Stitches.
1st. We have a charity drive next month, and I believe Old Bait is having one too for Starlight.
I will not until Christmas for Starlight, but hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll have some news on Starlight soon. Hopefully, but if
I
not,
signed up
I'm
for
definitely
the September drive session.
there. You go, and
Um,
I will be participating in Christmas.
And if you have not already, which I think most people here have, go follow Old Bait. He streams basically community horror games.
Mm-hmm.
This next week, our schedule is the same, but we might be adding a non-horror stream because Brent needs a break.
Yeah, occasionally even
after last
we all
night,
do.
I need a break because they're not timed out very long apart. Jump scares, they are. You can wait like a half an hour to get a jump scare, and then all of a sudden you're getting like 3 to 5 in 15 minutes.
Oof. For mortuaries, what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
for mortuary
Oh,
assistant,
wow.
and we've
Oof.
only gotten one ending out of 2 playthroughs. So
Okay.
it's a rough game to play through, even for me. Yeah, I just
Gosh.
wanted to touch base on that. If y'all haven't already, please go check out 8-Bit Dojo's new website. There is a calendar of events on there. There is blogs that will be going up every Monday or Tuesday, I believe. I think it's Tuesdays. Each week is by a different person. We have 4 people on our blog team at the moment. Mine will be going up on the 23rd or 22nd. It's the last Tuesday of the month. I will be covering horror games in general.
Nice.
So, okay.
Yeah, I think-
I'm
yeah.
done with all that chit chat.
Oh, you're good. Yeah. I think what Faye is coming up this week, and then yeah, you're up with the horror. I love it.
Nah, Faye's comes out this week. Jin comes out on the first week. Faye comes out on the second.
Yeah.
General comes out on the 3rd week of the month, and I come out on the 4th week of the month.
Cool.
Ren,
Like it.
The
I like
same
it.
woman that horror doesn't scare me. I'm numb to it. Yeah, it is messing with me. That game messes with me. But
I won't
at
play
the
it.
same aspect, like he won't play it. I've seen the demonic possession, and this game is so dead on. And it's so dead on. The only reason I can play that game is when you do security and there is a transfer of bodies and parts. I'm
Oh,
not
okay.
really
So
sure.
she's seeing the corpses. She sees
No.
she's seeing corpses. And see, nothing bothers me about corpses. I could have played that game if it was just about corpses and some jump scares here and there. But the way they did the demonic, I saw enough to turn off, and I'm not watching that gameplay again.
It's not the dead bodies. It's not the body parts. It's not the gore. The gore is fine with me. It's the demonic stuff that gets to me. And
It's
you know,
psychological.
I left your stream to go to bed last night. I didn't go to bed until like 5 a.m.
God, yeah, you
I
had an
trouble
experience.
getting to sleep after that. But
Yeah,
playing it again.
you should have watched
I love the
Jed
game.
General. He was playing a wonderful game to relax to. Anyway, yeah, it was good.
Yeah, he
I'm
was
glad
playing
you had
Ori
fun with
last
it.
night, right?
There you go, Ori, and that's a really chill game. Of course,
And
not for
again-
him, but for the viewers.
Yeah, and again, we are playing Genshin Impact after the podcast. We'll be
Cool.
taking like a 5-minute break, and then we'll be playing Genshin Impact as a sponsored stream. Anybody wants to download it and help me out? I need like 5 people to get me.
It's on mobile.
Yeah. It's a big. You can play it. You play it on mobile. It's a big download.
Fun game.
You get to adventure level 6, and then you can delete it off your thing, and it helps me out. I will at some time play it and let me know when you get through what the story I want to tell is.
Oh yeah, we can
Okay.
talk about that later.
Okay.
Yeah, totally respect that. But yeah, into the final chapter. It takes place the night of.
I'm not
And
going
the
to bring
day.
up the scene for part 4 until you're ready to talk.
Oh, not yet, right? Yeah, we'll get there.
It is
We'll
at
get
the end
there.
of the movie, so.
So we'll get there, and I love it. But so fun fact too: the Friday the 13th Part 4 was actually one of the first films where they cast a known actor in a role in this. That actor was, you may know, Corey Feldman. As a kid, he was a very popular child actor. He was cast in this. And in the documentary about this film, they go all into how much he was all in and this and that, because the character that he plays, Tommy Jarvis, again, the same last name as the character killed in Part 2. No relation, I don't know. But Tommy Jarvis was supposed to continue. Remember when I said Friday the 13th, the franchise would continue, but no longer Jason. Jarvis was supposed to be next. And anyway, things didn't happen. Corey Feldman became a teenager and discovered drugs. So I blame Corey Feldman. But
Well, no, they did bring back Tommy in Part 5.
I know, but they did it all wonky, you know. It was so weird.
Well, you can't.
Different actor.
Look,
They didn't cast Corey.
Look, Corey Feldman is a great actor, especially when he
Yeah.
was a kid. I've seen interviews and documentaries about shit that happened and what happened to him. You can see why he did drugs.
Yeah, I get it. I'm just talking in the sense of at that time what a lot of people knew before they knew what we know now. I'm speaking in the context of that era.
Yeah.
But so that movie cast Corey Feldman. It was the first Friday movie with a known actor, but it also had another actor in there who became well known later throughout his career, Crispin Glover, who has an amazing dance scene in that film that's just
That is
phenomenal.
an iconic dance scene. Out of all the movie like dance scenes that are not like musical movies, like you think of Pulp Fiction, and then you think of this damn dancing.
Yep.
It's like, is that the way he really danced, or was that just character dancing? Because sometimes you think when you
It was him. So I saw the documentary. It was him. He did it slapstick style. He just did it. That was him. It wasn't part of what it wasn't part of anything he was told to do. He did it. And everybody there, like they shot it
Yeah,
in one
'cause
scene.
I just watched
It was
it the other night, and that
cold.
this just I was just like, wow. I remember the dance scene, and then I rewatched it, and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
this is a thing.
Yeah. that was him, spontaneous Crispin Glover, and years later you find out what a wonderful and a very gifted actor he is. But so part 4 takes place the night of. They're at the barn after Chris has obviously been taken off, and she's losing her mind. She's gone psycho, poor thing, from what she experienced. But they're there, and you see the ambulances. Everybody's pulling in. They're picking up all the bodies from Friday the 13th Part 3 in that property, and there's a helicopter, and then boom, you see the spotlight, and there's Jason. He's still dead, axe still in his face from the events of Part 3, and they take him off along with everybody else. They're like, "This is the guy who's been leaving the wet stuff, huh?" And they're like, "Yeah." This time they got him, and they cart him off, take him to the morgue. And in the morgue, you meet probably the most disgusting character in all the Friday the 13th films.
Oh God.
Some douchebag doctor who's just the worst of humanity, just horrible. He's introduced talking about necrophilia.
Like,
And,
dude would not have a job nowadays.
Yeah, it's just total
He'd be on a
scumbag.
list.
He'd be on some lists for sure. And per usual at a hospital, he's flirting with a certain nurse of his, and Jason's corpse is there, and they're making out, and the hand drops from the gurney, and she freaks out. She leaves. The guy goes back to watching some cheesy ass exercise video of women and just being a total pig. And Jason's in like the ice box, but the door was open, and you see the door open behind.
Yeah, it didn't
this
latch
doctor.
properly. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't latch. Well, somehow there's Jason, and he's got a medical
Well, they took the
axe
thing
or
out,
saw.
yeah,
Bone saw.
they took the axe out of his head.
They did at the beginning.
Mean,
they took
what
the
do you
axe.
learn from like horror movies? When you kill a killer, do not take the murder weapon out of the body.
Yeah. And in this one, some would argue starts zombie Jason, because the character now has really black fingernails. The skin is more gaunt and dark and almost decayed looking,
Well,
especially as we get to the end.
I don't remember the specific myth behind Jason, but I do know that
Necronomicon.
they say that he was under a curse. That's why he's able to come back from the dead so many times.
Yeah. Yeah, he had like regenerative powers.
Yeah, you have.
A guard who camps the body. Got you. So the doctor gets this douchebag who we all are happy. That was like a one death you clap about. He gets the bone saw to the head, to the neck, and Jason snaps his head full around. Total brutality. Kills the guy's nurse, and then you transition into our characters, Renwolf. If you want to talk a little bit about them.
Yeah, they just needed to decapitate Jason, to be honest. Well, no, I think they did in one movie. It was the least seen Friday the 13th. I can't remember which movie it is.
Oh,
where
it was
his,
part 6. It wasn't quite fully off, but the
where
boat motor.
His spirit went into multiple people.
Oh God, Jason goes to hell. They blew him up with a bomb.
Yeah, it just.
I hate that movie.
But yeah, this, I think they got this part of the movie, the hospital scene, from Halloween Part 2.
Yeah, and they did good. They did good.
They
It was
got
creepy,
inspiration from Halloween Part 2.
which I love Halloween
Yeah,
too.
he killed a lot of people at that hospital.
So he's out, and then they introduce us to our characters. So you meet Tommy Jarvis and his family. His
That's
mother,
Freddy's Club,
yeah, his mother and sister are jogging in the forest. They live in the forest, in the woods, and
yeah.
they come across. Yeah, go ahead.
There's two sets of main characters: the mother, the daughter, and Corey Feldman's character, and then
And their dog.
and their dog, and they're weekend neighbors of the typical Friday the 13th party goers, teenagers next door.
6 kids next door.
6 kids next door.
Yeah.
You have to have the party goers in a Friday the 13th.
Always. And then they introduced the kids driving to their rental house in the woods. And in the back, that's where you see Crispin Glover and another character. and Crispin
Which was
Glover's.
he was in a lot of B movies. The other character was in a lot of B movies in this
He was,
movie.
yeah.
And he's douchebag number 2 in this movie.
He is.
That's how I
He's a good-
refer to him. He's douchebag
He
number
is.
2 in this movie.
He's a typical alpha male, chauvinist pig jerk. And Crispin Glover's devastated. He just broke up with his girlfriend, who the douchebag is calling blowjob Betty, and then calling Crispin Glover a dead fuck. Some crazy banter. And the other kids really don't even.
They don't
There
even
was more
acknowledge it.
character. Yeah, it was just like, oh, okay.
Like, I'm sorry, but even back then, if you seen somebody doing that, you would have called them out.
Yeah. It was pretty rough.
Stitches. I don't know if you guys know this, but the recent trend in movie making has been on haunted sites, little inside info.
I like that, like actual haunted sites. I like that. That's cool. So yeah, we get introduced to all our characters, and
Well, all but one.
oh yeah, you're right. Oh, but
All but
then
one.
there's another
He
character
comes
I
back-
want to,
He comes in later. In the
and
movie.
I think it's the guy you and I are thinking of, right?
Yeah,
He comes in when their car's broken down.
He's looking for he's looking for his sister.
So his sister was murdered by Jason. She was one of the counselors. I think in part 2, it's kind of vague when they're finally telling the story. But he has newspaper clippings of Jason and the drowning and the murders. But his sister was murdered. She was one of the victims. I don't recall if it was part 2 or 3, probably 2. But they say her name, but I don't remember who she was. So
yeah, it was so you really did pay attention to that part, to be honest.
yeah, and it's cool because part 4, the final chapter, opens up with the montage of the first 3, and it did focus on part 2, the campground scene where the guy's telling the story of Jason. So they all piece everything into that. It's a beautifully well done opening scene, and then this guy's sister was killed. He's got like the full outdoorsman thing going on, complete with fat flannel. And he's got machete, guns, weapons, backpack, the whole 9 yards. Well, then he meets Corey Feldman and his sister, who are their car broke down. He helps them get that started. Then we learn about Tommy Jarvis's mask, Renwolf, if you remember that. His mask collection.
He's got a mask collection. He's really into making his own masks and stuff, and he has one that it's like a sleeve animatronic one. It's like some kind of some kind of creature, but what it reminded me of is, I don't know if you guys have seen this movie. It's and it's on the tip of my tongue. It's like Ghoulies.
The Ghoulies, yes.
It reminds me so much of one of the Ghoulies in that movie.
Hey, for all we know, it was.
It
Maybe it's in the same studio.
Hi Jen, how are you doing?
Hey, Jen.
Can we get a shout out for Jen, please?
Jen Tax, it's good to see you, man.
Thank you, Carolina. Yeah, let me tell you something. As a kid, if I had the backing of my parents to go down that route, I would have. The special effects mask making and stuff. Like, I wanted to quit high school my junior year and go to a special effects school. Literally. I would have loved to have been that kid. Because even back then, that shit was not cheap.
Gosh.
Good, just vibing. Big fan of Jason. Yep, me too, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Stitches, I kind of know that one. Like, I can make a bruise out of eyeshadow and lotion. A real looking bruise. In like 5 minutes. But,
That's cool.
I know how to do some of the sculpting and casting. Wicked.
Heck yeah, I've seen some of it too.
She sent me a picture of her in her Winifred costume.
Mm-hmm.
I fucking love it. Love it.
Yeah, so we get to we meet everybody now. We've met the Jarvis family, single mom with her kids and the dog. And then we meet the kids, and we've talked a little bit about the kids. So one of them, it's a boyfriend, girlfriend, and he's a playboy. And you meet these twins along the way. There's these twin gals that they meet on a hiking right before they go skinny dipping. And he starts flirting with one of them, just comes across again as another asshole. And that kill scene, actually, if it hadn't been for the one I ended up choosing that we'll see later, this one was very iconic in Friday the 13th. So his girlfriend gets pissed at him because he starts dancing with one of the twins, virtually ignoring his girlfriend. She goes off to the lake. Jason kills her. She goes off into a float. She's really upset, obviously. Of course, fully naked. Why not? This is the 1980s in horror, so you get to see everything. So back to that. He's there dancing with this gal. Well, he ends up finally getting a conscience. He can't go through with it, he says. And he goes out to find his girlfriend. He swims out to the lake, finds her dead, freaks out immediately. But when he comes back towards the shoreline of the lake, Jason gets him with a harpoon. And that particular scene was just so iconic. People and directors and stuff of horror will talk about that. Jason harpoons him through the groin. You need to see all the blood gushing out. And it's just no character deserved a death like this guy did on the way here. It is. They have a name to it. I forgot the name of it, but the name of that kill has a name. Where Jason does something to this guy.
Like, I was going to download a clip of that, and I was like, yeah, no, not even. No.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
I mean, that's something that I might put in, like, a Discord channel, but I'm not going to put it on a podcast.
Yeah, you can't put that on stream, I don't think. Yeah. It was very brutal. The guy deserved it, some would say he didn't or did, but he did. And it was a perfect way to kill this guy. But it was a brutal, brutal kill. Tom Savini in all his glory. And so they get back to the party. Jason, like I mentioned, from part 2, 3, and 4, the kills were just more and more brutal, personal, hateful. There's an innocent young gal in there. From how they all wrap the story, a virgin, just a really innocent gal. She meets a good person, a good guy. They end up, having sex and doing their thing in the shower, and she's falling in love. Real, good story making between those two characters. The guy stays in the shower while she goes and blow dries her hair. Jason turns off the lights, and he thinks it's his buddy or something playing a joke on him. So he drops the soap, starts doing like a laugh, like ho ho ho, and you just see the hands smash through the glass of the shower, grab his face and just crush his skull slowly, crunch at a time into the tile of the shower. Brutal kill. And
he actually went on to play in soap operas later.
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah,
he was a handsome guy. Very handsome guy.
Yeah.
So I could see that. But poor gal.
I believe that this was the first movie that I remember seeing that did the whole stay a virgin and you'll live in a horror movie.
That's where it started.
Start off a virgin and then lose your virginity in the movie, and you did.
Yeah. He dies. Yeah. Never, what is it? Never have sex and never do drugs in a horror movie. You'll be dead.
Seriously. Gentex. Met Savini before.
I'm jelly. I'm so jelly.
I'm jelly. Oh, man.
In Texas. Dang it.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
The red shirts of horror.
Yeah, there you go. The red shirts of horror. Yep. That's a perfect way. So poor gal, she finds her deceased partner now and just loses her mind. Jason shows himself. He chases her throughout the house. She thinks she gets away. She goes, iconic 80s. She goes back upstairs.
Iconic 80s. They're still doing that, by the way.
I know, but this was like so 80s. Somehow he's fucking outside, up on the second floor, hanging on to whatever the fuck is on the side of the house. grabs her, smashes through the fucking window, throws her out. And this scene is actually a GIF that you can still find today on these GIFs. Anyway, throws her out. She lands on the car, and there's this huge explosion of glass. Clearly, she's dead. But yeah, that was crazy. And another gal he gets with an axe through the freaking door into her chest, dead. Brutal kills. One of the twins, he impales her with a spear. Just so brutal. And you want to talk about he kills Crispin and the other douchebag, Renwolf? The guy who was watching the damn porn, how he gets killed, and then Crispin, poor guy, ends up dying.
Stitches says, I remember the sleeping bag kills clearly.
Oh, yeah. I think that was part 7.
Yeah. I mean, there was a later movie. Dude, I have an old brain. My memory is crap.
You're good. Between you and me, we're going to do this. 'Cause my brain's all fucked up, so we'll get this. So what happens?
I watched this 2 days ago, and I can't remember these two. Yeah.
All good. So Crispin Glover's character, really good guy, but he gets laid.
There are so many fucking kills in this movie. I can't keep track of all of them.
This one had a high kill count. But Crispin Glover's character, early on, we discussed, was getting teased by his buddy for being a dead fuck. Well, clearly he wasn't. He has sex with one of the twins. She says he was amazing, so he's super proud of himself. He goes back downstairs where the douchebag friend is watching some kind of like 1940s porn or something. And he has the gal's panties.
Flapper girls, butt ass naked.
Yeah, there you go. And so he puts the panties, and he's like, hey, how about you put this computer and shove it up your ass, you know? So Crispin Glover's like, well, let's celebrate. Let's get some wine. Mind you, everybody's already drunk and whatnot. Half of them are already dead. And he's like, hey, Ted, where's the corkscrew, Ted? Oh. And he puts his hand down and turns around. Hey, Ted, where's the corkscrew? And you just see Jason, whoop, bam, corkscrew through Crispin Glover's hand. Gnarly. In shock, he turns around. There's Jason. And Jason just, I think it was the machete straight through the skull. Just so brutal. So brutal.
There's so many deaths in this movie. Like, their kill count, like, tripled from 1 to 4.
Yeah.
Tripled.
Yeah. Brutality just increased and increased. So then douchebag dies. Jason axes him, literally. And that's the end of him. Then we get into the Jarvises, Renwolf. We get back to the Jarvises. And Mom, this was the first adult.
Ari says, fun fact, Sabini actually made the mask for WWE wrestlers a few years back.
Oh, Bray Wyatt, the Fiend.
Yeah.
I love that. Ray probably knows more about that, but yeah.
Ray's probably just lurking.
Creepy Clown and Mr. Rogers. I believe that was the Fiend from Bray Wyatt, a wrestler who will actually be coming back soon. But yeah, RSPC, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Has done a lot of shit for a lot of people. And
that's awesome.
He's got a school, I think it's in Florida.
Yeah, you mentioned about that.
Yeah, he's got a school down in Florida, and he teaches every aspect.
God, Tom Savini, he's got to be about 80 now.
Dude, he not only he doesn't really teach so much, he's more like the headmaster.
Sure, he's fucking Dumbledore for her.
He has people coming in from the industry teaching these classes.
Oh, love it.
Yeah.
Look at that shit. Look at what Ray just put.
Charlie Taylor's mask.
That's fucking cool. Didn't know that either. Did not know that.
Yeah, Mom dies first. Mom Jarvis dies first.
Yeah, so she was the first mom murdered in the Friday the 13th series, and they don't even show her death. They leave it up to the viewer, but you know she's dead.
Yeah.
Her house is without lights. She goes outside to look for the poor dog. Never finds the dog, but there's a snap, and she turns back and looks in fear, and then they phase into the next scene.
Yeah, because she was looking for the dog and the kids. The kids were gone.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
They come back and find that Mom's missing or dead or something.
Missing. Yeah, they never
Yeah,
find
and
her.
the daughter goes looking for the hiker,
Mm-hmm.
and
The bounty guy.
the hiker almost kills her because she's in his tent when he's away, and somebody had destroyed his gun.
Oh yeah, Jason snapped his
Earlier.
freaking shotgun in half.
When he wasn't there, and they go back to the house where the boy is because he tells her about Jason and everything, about the killer.
Yeah,
And
that's where you
then-
see the newspaper clips. Yeah.
Yeah. And they go back to the house to look for the kid. And the kid stays there and they go next door.
So yeah, for whatever reason, the bounty hunter guy that I call him bounty hunter guy, his sister was murdered in another movie. He's out for revenge. He insists for some reason we got to go next door because he knows there's kids there, and he knows this is Jason's MO to target kids. And so he insists, and she's like, "No, you're not going alone." He goes in the house. The lights are off, so he goes into the basement with her in hand. Tommy Jarvis's sister. I forgot her name. Trish. So Trish and this guy go down in the basement, and Jason gets him. But good. Nasty stuff. The guy's literally screaming, "Run!" You can hear the blood gurgling. "He's killing me! He's killing me!" She's freaking the fuck out. You know, she's in shock, obviously. You know, she had been out. She didn't know any of this shit was happening. And all of a sudden, there's this fucking monster guy murdering her friend. And clearly he dies. Jason just slowly murders him, but brutally. And
the whole time he's getting killed, he's yelling at Trish.
run. And what does she do?
"Run," and she doesn't run.
She goes back down.
She
She just starts to run. It goes back down.
She is the epitome of why the fuck did she live in this movie?
Thank you.
Character.
Why did they kill Crispin Glover, but she lived? Anyway, I digress. But it should have been the mom and Tommy that survived. But anyway, she goes back down the damn basement, and Jason's waiting for her. He's underneath the stairs at this point. You see his fucking massive arm and hand come out and grab her leg. A chase ensues. During this chase in that other house, they run into everybody's dead bodies. Jason has done some creative things with these bodies. He hung poor Crispin Glover like a crucifix outside a door. He put stage people in different spots. She's losing her fucking mind. The gravity of this situation has fully hit her, poor Trish. Ends up running back to her house, and yeah, Renwolf, then take us into what happens next with
Didn't-
Tommy and what he does.
In my friends growing up used to joke that slashers had teleporters. And with
We talked
how
about
they
that
popped
earlier.
up from a mile away. Yeah.
We joked about that earlier. Ray was
Um,
making a comment how, you know, the fucking victim is zigzagging and the killer's running in a straight line, but somehow we wonder how the fuck they caught up. I was like, well, clearly they teleport. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, she runs back next door to her brother, Corey Feldman's
Yeah.
character, Tommy. And Jason, chases them all over the house. They barricade themselves in a bedroom. And she comes up with a plan to get Jason away from Tommy so he can take off running. Of course, he doesn't. She runs back next door, I think.
She does. She
And
goes back
gets
next
thro-
door.
She gets thrown out of a window, or she jumps out of the window.
She jumps out. It was
It
sick.
lands on her back, and it takes her a couple seconds to get awake again because she knocked herself out.
Well, and mind you, Jason's staring at her the whole time
Yeah,
from up
yeah.
there. And then when he finds out she's not
Yeah.
dead.
She runs back
Chills.
next door and realizes Tommy didn't take off. So Jason comes back. Tommy goes upstairs and comes up with his own plan, while his sister is trying to fight off Jason downstairs. And this leads into your favorite kill of the
Yeah, go for it. Let's show it.
No, it's your favorite. Go ahead. I'll show
Okay,
it.
so there's Corey Feldman as Tommy Jarvis. So he's in the restroom. He has found these newspaper clippings from the bounty hunter that's showing Jason as a kid. and perfectly he does that. He shaves his head just the same way Jason appeared.
He even colored his around his eyes to make it look jaundiced a little bit.
Well, here's the fun fact about that. So with all of this and the makeup and the effects, Corey Feldman, because I saw the documentary of the making of this, he was saying that he already had the flu, like he was already sick when they were filming this scene.
Wow.
But when they put that shit over him, it increased his temperature. So the gauntness you're seeing was actually not special effects.
Oh,
That
wow.
was literally the poor kid. Corey was going through hell. Literally, he has the flu there. He's so sick, but he gets Jason. Remember in part 2, you had the gal pretend to be Pamela. Well, here you even see Jason like a pet do this when Jason sees
Yeah,
him.
because he pretends to be Jason.
Yeah, and he's like, Jason, it's done.
Like his inner, like, voice manifesting.
Mhm. Yeah, his inner child is whatever innocence was still left. And Jason starts coming to him, and Jason's going to grab him. Mind you, it doesn't look like Jason's going to kill him. It looks like Jason's trying to like touch him. Like, are you real? Is this real?
Yeah.
What he would have really done, we don't know, right? So the sister, Trish, gets Jason's machete. Jason quickly turns around. He hears his tool getting picked up. She swipes, the mask flies off, and then you see that mug. And wow, it's
She
pretty.
freaks. She freaks. She starts screaming like there's
Yeah.
no tomorrow.
And Tommy yells at Jason. Now Jason's fully gonna attack Tommy. So Trish screams or does something, Renwolf.
She
And-
screams, yeah, she tries to scream to get him away from Tommy.
Jason turns back around. She's prepared. That machete goes right through the middle of the skull, and he falls. And that's my favorite scene from Friday the 13th Part 4.
Yeah,
Go for it.
and at
It's
that
also
point,
Beanie. Go for it.
yeah, at that point, Jason's on the ground. Tommy goes over to hug Trish, and he just looks over and sees Jason's finger starting to move, and he goes over and takes the machete and just hacks him to death.
Oh, he loses his mind, and Trish is freaking
He
out.
fucking loses it.
But Jason, when he's falling on that machete, Renwolf, again, the magic of Tom Savini, it shows the skull, and you can actually see the brain stem even,
Yeah,
all cut. It's gorgeous.
He falls on it, and it goes through the back of his head. It's just
He is deceased.
Tom Savini like put special effects on a new level in this movie.
Oh, this
And
was
and
magnificent
he
effect.
was already established by then
Yeah, he was.
as
This
one
was
of
it.
the founders of the new age dude. Because before it was him and 2 other guys. When
Oh,
they
yeah.
started going up, they changed it to where blood looked like blood, and it wasn't like red.
Look at that.
Thin red paint.
Yeah.
They changed the way special effects were done, and he is like a big name in special effects nowadays because late 70s, early 80s, him and his boys really changed the way shit was done.
Yeah. And that scene that
people
you got
are
a
still
perfect
using-
snapshot.
yes,
Oh,
people
so
are
good.
still using his blood formula to this day on movies.
Oh, I love that. That scene, you got the perfect screenshot, Ren. His eye, the good one, obviously, is staring at the machete. He stares at it, and you see the eye moving around in panic
Yeah.
as Jason is coming to the realization this is the end. But yeah, like Renwolf said, he collapses, but he's still twitching. Well, Tommy Jarvis loses his shit. So then, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't remember how they. I think after that they just flash back. They flash to the hospital like the morning.
No, the same night, I think. Same night. It's still storming, you know?
Yeah, and it's just Trish and the doctor and the police chief or something like that. And she's just asking, about Tommy and what happened because he went nuts.
Yeah.
And they told her that it was just in the moment kind of thing, that, adrenaline basically took over and his need to survive took over. and he'll be fine. And then they bring him in, and he runs over and hugs her. And at the very end of the movie, you see Tommy's face hugging his sister, and his eyes just go, wow. Like,
Oh, yeah.
you can see that that's it for him. Like,
Yeah,
there's no hope there.
He was supposed to have been like the Friday the 13th Michael Myers after that. Like the direction was the end of Jason. Like you mentioned, Savini only came on because this was it. This was it. No more Jason.
There was supposed to be no more Jason after this.
Yeah, it was going to be Tommy.
That's why it was, yeah. So this had an alternate ending.
Oh.
Which is available on the 2009 Deluxe Edition DVD. I'm sure it's out there somewhere if you could still get the DVD. It's probably on all the DVDs for this, the Deluxe Editions, where they show the extras. Where it shows a dream sequence where Trish and Tommy wake up the next morning after, killing Jason.
Okay.
To the sounds of police sirens. So they're still in the house. They're not in the hospital.
Oh God. Okay.
Trish sends Tommy to summon the police, who have arrived next door. At this point, she notices water dripping from the ceiling and goes to investigate. She enters the upstairs bathroom and finds the body of her mother drowned in a bathtub and begins to cry. Hold on, I need a drink. At that moment, Mrs. Jarvis's eyes open, revealing demonic white eyes. As Trish turns around, Jason appears behind her, strikes her down, and Trish then suddenly wakes up in the hospital in the scene reminiscent of the ending of the first movie.
Oh, that's cool. That's neat.
Apparently, that is available on DVD. I could not find that alternate ending, any screenshots or anything.
Yeah. Dang, that's cool. I didn't know that either. And you freaked me out with the alternate ending of part 3, my favorite one. I'm gonna have to go back and really look through my DVDs for that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That should be on the DVD, like the extras they put in, like.
They should have kept the dream
Nowadays.
sequence.
Yeah.
Was that went along? Remember how almost all the other 3 ended was a dream sequence, or especially the first 2.
Right.
And then that's cool. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, look at that! 2 hours and 8 minutes, and that was the final chapter.
Okay. That's the end of the podcast. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Again.
I'm still smiling. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming. Halloween, October will be a Halloween special podcast of Thomas Savini. That one's probably going to be at least 2 hours because his career is long and the stuff that he did. I mean, it's going to take me like 2 months to.
Hi, Saracel.
Hi, Saracel. Can we get a shout out for Saracel? We are having a charity stream in September for Starlight Children's Foundation. You just woke up. Sorry.
Good morning.
They just about woke up at the same time today.
We did. I literally looked at my phone.
We were supposed to get together this morning, and at like 1:00 my time, I texted him, "I'm just awake. I just woke up." He's like, "Me too."
And I couldn't even spell right. It's all screwed up. I looked at it later. I was like, "Oh God." Yeah,
right.
we were
I was
late.
still half asleep when I read it. So
Yeah.
I totally read that the way it was meant to be read and not. Yeah.
Fuck, right? He was awake before us. Oof.
Well, he's got kids.
True.
My kids are grown. I don't even know where my son is. He was gone before I even got up.
Oh.
Who knows? Again, please go check out the 8-Bit Dojo website. There
Freaking
will be a
awesome.
lot of content in coming months. There is a blog coming out every week, different topics. We have Gentex, the General Andrews, and Barry is all writing as well as I am. The first blog is already up. It is a very good read. Ghosted by Gentex. I would suggest you go read it. It's a very nice read. The blogs are not super long or anything. It'll take you 5 minutes to read. It's great reading though. And stay tuned because we are going to be doing our sponsor part of the stream of Jensen Impact after this.
I really enjoyed this. Thank you. I love these first 4 movies. To me, they are iconic of the 80s slasher era that was brought to us because of the success of Halloween in 1978. So thanks to everybody who made these films. It's a big part of my childhood. My parents were enablers and luckily let me watch whatever the fuck I wanted to.
My parents weren't enablers, but my brothers were, and they're 9, 10, 11 years older.
There you go.